Hey, welcome back, Star Wars fans. Welcome back, fans of Rule the Galaxy. It's your pilot, Joe. I'm in the pilot seat again, as usual. I'm asking these other guys to take over and run a show once in a while, but they keep leaving it in my hands, so I'll keep leading the way. Thanks for being a part of what we do here at Rule the Galaxy. And as always, you can follow us at Rule the Galaxy SW on Twitter. You can email us at rulethegalaxysw@gmail.com. And as you've probably seen, we've thrown out a few little tidbits and some of our shows on our new YouTube channel. You can just find us at Rule the Galaxy on YouTube. And you never know, this show might be popping up there here very soon as well. So we have a full house tonight. We got some of the A team here. We're really rocking and rolling. Tonight we've got Brent Dykman, Alfie Molinaro, Ryan Massengale, and as a special guest, we have the one and only Star Wars and Marvel author, Adam Bray. So I'll run through the room real quick and just check in with everybody. Brent, how are you doing tonight? Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I enjoy doing this. It's a welcome reprieve to the week. I just want to say a big happening in my household is we are going to be adding a furry animal to the house. That is a positive to everyone in the house but me. I did not and do not think we need a second dog. We currently have an Australian Labradoodle, and we're going to add another doodle of some kind. I don't know what mutt version of a doodle this one is. But so soon, because we decided to purchase another puppy, because what's better than trying to train it to do everything? So we don't even get access to it until February 12th or 13th or something like that. Yay.
Well,
so yeah.
I expect to see pictures so that we can post those out there. And also,
sure,
I think the gang here will all agree we expect a Star Wars related name for the new dog.
Because I don't want it, I'm not gonna force a Star Wars related name onto the dog.
Okay.
The dog was already named Coco, and I believe that is where the family has stuck.
Okay, so. Coco it is. Hey, Coco reminds me of Seinfeld. Wasn't it Coco the Seinfeld episode? Anyway, Alfie, my dear sweet cousin, how are you tonight, sir?
Doing good, Joseph. Running right on the wire to get here tonight, like always. But we made it, so.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, you did just send me over some pictures of a great Facebook Marketplace find you had of Star Wars toys and collectibles. Any insight into that find you had?
That was a good one. So good, I almost felt bad buying it. I felt like I should have given the guy more money.
Okay, this goes out. People listen to this, so
I never feel that way.
So anything good in there? I mean, obviously it sounds good.
It was all those like galactic heroes, the little chunky guys, an Imperial Walker, the Ghost, Kylo Ren's TIE Fighter. So
that's a good haul.
Yeah, 24 characters. It was a pretty good find. I couldn't buy it quick enough.
Also, Alfie, if I'm not mistaken, did you not have Daniel Logan respond to your tweet this week about Boba Fett?
Yeah, I'm still kind of on cloud 9 about that one. I put it out there because I thought, let's just see what happens. Like I told you, a shooter's going to shoot. And
yep.
He responded back.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You have been playing mad skills games on Twitter recently, so I appreciate that and tagging everything with Rule the Galaxy. No problem. So that's awesome.
It's a lot of fun.
Yep. Mass, how are you, my friend? Good to see you.
I'm doing pretty well. I came home yesterday and I had a 65-inch TV, and Kelly replaced it with a 75-inch TV while I was gone. So I've been watching Marvel and Star Wars for about 24 hours. I don't think I slept last night. So yeah, I'm having a good time.
That is a good day. You tell Kelly we all love her. Just tell her. Just say we love her. That's great.
Was this just a straight up surprise, or were you guys talking about it?
No, this was a surprise. Yeah, it was fantastic.
So did you notice instantly, or were you like the typical guy that walked around the house and did some stuff, and then 10 minutes later, when you sat down to watch TV, you noticed?
No, I noticed as soon as I got in the door. I mean, because yeah, it was a little bit different, but so it's been fun. But yeah,
Well,
So
good.
speaking of Marvel, let's introduce the.
Well, heck yeah. Well,
Yeah.
so we are blessed more than we know that we could have actually somebody who's actually put their name on something related to Star Wars and not just talked about it like we do. Uh, Adam Bray, author. He writes a lot for Star Wars, a lot for Marvel. And Adam, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. And how are you up in Michigan tonight?
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. I'm doing good. It's freezing cold here in Michigan. This is, I guess, the beginning of February, so it's the coldest time of the year from mid-January to mid-February. But I've been blessed this winter and last winter, because normally this time of year it gets down to -20 or -30. But these last two winters, we've been spared. It only last year it got to about 0 degrees. This year, I think it's been down to like 7 or 8, but I'll take that. It's better than the -30.
My goodness. I mean, you're basically on Hoth, basically, right?
Yeah, it really is. It's for a couple of weeks, it can be a little, it's risky going to town, because I got to get on the highway and drive for a half hour, 45 minutes. And I had car problems before. I worry about, getting stuck or going off the road, and, cell service is bad. And, it's scary when it's like this and you're all alone.
Well, you know what, bless you. Go with God on that living up in Michigan thing. Indiana's bad enough. We get cold enough here and wind going sideways. The further north, the more cold, the more snow. And I keep telling my wife now that the kids are all moving out of the house, it might be time to head south because I like the warmth. So
yeah, I've been looking for years for a way to get out of here and get back down south, because I used to live in the tropics overseas, and that's the climate that I prefer. I'm up here because when I came back to the U.S., it's the only place I had any family or any connections. So, but being a writer, it's people talk about it being the poorest, lowest paid career, and it really is. So it's once I got up here, it was it's financially difficult to go anywhere else unless I have some job or some opportunity that's tied to that location to make it worthwhile, all the expense of moving and staying.
Gotcha. Well, one, I know we want to talk about, before we get into anything, one, I'm holding your Star Wars Rebels visual guide here, which is fabulous. And I believe this one came out like during the first season, right? Before we get knee deep into all the extra characters. So, but I grabbed the first one I had with your name on it there. So
that was back when Disney allowed Lucasfilm still allowed books to come out before the shows or movies. I think that did come out before the series hit. They don't do that anymore, not under Disney.
And that is a shame. And we're going to get into more of that because, like you mentioned, the tropics and Lucasfilm, I definitely want to talk to you about all those topics. But before we do, I like to make sure we hit on anything that's going on. And Brent, you made a good point. We're going to go back to the Force 4 in the future, but I wasn't prepared for that today. But Joey and I used to call our news items the Force 4, and we bring up 4 news item topics for each show. But I wanted to throw out some things that I saw and this week that weren't really, there wasn't any earth-shattering news this week, but one, my affection for Mr. Obi-Wan Kenobi and the way Ewan McGregor plays that role. He came out just in the last few days with an interview talking about how they're going to start filming in March in Los Angeles. So I'm guessing they're going to be using the volume out there to do that series. And I guess in a desert scene kind of set up, it probably is pretty easy to do that. Do you guys remember maybe within the last month, there was a lot of things about Obi-Wan Kenobi series is going to be filmed in England, and it was going to be, and I now think we're finding out that's the Andor series, right? The Cassian Andor series. Okay. But what are you guys thinking? I mean, I'm pumped. Andor's underway, starting to do filming and production. Kenobi underway. I mean, we're living in, I think Alfie and I talked about it recently. We're living in a new golden age of Star Wars. I mean, if they do these series upright, there's some good things on the agenda for us.
Mhm.
Anybody? Any thoughts? Any excitement about those series?
I'm excited. We've got Deborah Chow on the Kenobi series, and
Yes.
she's more than proved herself with the Mandalorian. So I think that's in really good hands, and that we've got both Ewan and Hayden on this series. So that's cool. That makes up for not having Hayden in the trilogy.
The sequel?
So yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's on really good footing. And from what I've heard and seen of those sets on Andor, they've got, looks like they've got some huge sets that they've built.
Yes.
So they're putting the money in it. And it's something interesting about the size and the scope of the shows. I love, huge fan of Mandalorian, and I think it's only gotten better as it's gone. There is a slightly smaller feeling to it in some ways. Much in the way another show that I'm a huge fan of is the Netflix Daredevil. An example, that's a show that did everything right. Which unfortunately didn't save it, but there's whispers that Kevin Feige might actually resurrect it.
Really?
But apparently he said something recently. I forget exactly what he said, but he gave some solid hope of those various characters, the actors in that show, and possibly others of those Netflix coming in. I think the Spider-Man is the entry point for a lot of that, if rumors are true. But I'm getting off topic.
Oh, you're fine.
What I was going to say, that's Netflix. The Daredevil was kind of an example of like a near perfect, at least with that last season of how you do a streaming show. But at the same time, it had a very small feeling to it. And I think it's just a really calculated, careful way of using the budget to maximize your story with, a certain, you're going to have a limited budget for streaming, at least in the beginning there. And I think Mandalorian kind of has that feel too. They really calculate where they're going to put their money on each episode, whether it's the guest actors, in one episode, or it's the CGI effects in another. They use it where they need it. But I get the feeling with Andor, after seeing those sets, that Disney is piling more money into these series now as we go in the subsequent series and subsequent seasons. So I think Mandalorian will be even bigger in scope in season 3 too.
Yeah, I think Jimmy and Jason on Rebel Force Radio mentioned recently that they see that scope of that thing in England to where multiple series are going to be bouncing in and out of those. So I'm looking forward to it. Brent, go ahead.
So yes, I think I would like Obi-Wan to remain that small, intimate feeling, only because I feel like that is what it's set up for. But I was not excited. I think I've said this before on our podcast. I was not as excited until I saw that sizzle reel. That sizzle reel for Andor super got me like intrigued. And then when they're talking about the villagers in England putting up a fight, and they thought it was Obi-Wan, but I believe it's actually the Andor set. The size and the scope of that Andor show just is like, it's building an intrigue to me that is more than the Obi-Wan series. I think Obi-Wan has the pull because it's Obi-Wan, but I'm more and more finding myself more and more anticipating the Andor series, only because I've said it before on our podcast, 200 named characters.
Mm-hmm.
That just seems huge. And like I said, hopefully there's new ones, but you're going to see people, if they're 200 named characters, there's got to be characters from what we've already seen before.
I think they've already mentioned Mon Mothma and Bail Organa and possible things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so just weaving in those storylines of the thing, like again, one of the things I think draws me in, and we've talked about it. Give me the old, or strings of the old, but give me something new and a new direction to go in. So keep me and make me feel like I'm part of that small intimate world, but then give me a new direction and a new character that to latch onto. And that's what I'm looking for. So I'm the Andor thing. I know you talked about Obi-Wan to start it off. I'm more jazzed for the Andor.
I'm looking forward to them both. Mass, were you going to hit something on either one of those?
I'm just really looking forward to seeing what the hell he did in the desert for 20 years. I mean, where you been, big guy? But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one.
Dude, he's got to go off world. He can't just be on the desert the whole time. He has got to have gone off world for some reason. I can't think that he sat there the entire time and just sat there and stared at Luke the entire time. That would get boring for 20 years.
He's got one job. He's got one job. Dude.
Yeah.
Adam, go ahead.
Yeah, the thing about it is people often point to the quotes from the duel between Vader and Obi-Wan on the Death Star of "You should not have come back." You know, when last we met, you were blah blah. Now I am the master.
Right?
Yeah, and so they point to that as, have they met before as Obi-Wan and Darth Vader? You know, has he been to the Death Star before? Is this his second visit? There's that, but people always forget about the end of Return of the Jedi when Luke finally confronts his father on Endor. Vader says, Obi-Wan once believed as you did, that he could turn him back to the light side. Well, when Obi-Wan left Anakin for dead on Mustafar, he did not believe that he could turn him back to the light side. He left him for dead. So that requires a meeting of Obi-Wan and Vader. That has to happen. That's not an option there.
It's amazing to me. We're all old enough, and Mass, Adam, for you to know, Mandalorian brought Mass back to Star Wars. He had seen the prequels and was not a fan, but and I know a lot of people during that time, didn't care for the prequels. But to see here 20 years later, the love that Ewan McGregor, Ian McDermott, Hayden Christensen, on and on and on are getting is just fabulous to me. I think it's awesome. And so I'm excited for all this. And if they bring back Hayden the right way in this, it's going to blow people's minds in that show.
So I think it will be the right way too, because I don't know if Jon Favreau has any direct involvement in this, but Deborah Chow is his Padawan through this. So, and Favreau knows, if nothing else, Favreau understands the importance from being with, whether he's a fan or not, from being with George Lucas and Dave Filoni. So I think it's guaranteed to come through to Deborah Chow, the importance of doing Hayden right in this.
Gotcha. Go ahead, Brent.
So what is doing Hayden right in this? I'm just curious, because how do you bring Hayden back in? Because that's probably my biggest hang up for the Obi-Wan series is, how do you bring him in? Because you did leave him for dead. And then the last we had the goofy, cheesy, no, right? Where he turned into Vader. Like, so where does Hayden, the character of Anakin, come in, and how do you bring in Hayden in the right way? Like you guys are talking about. So how do you, let's speculate for sure. Yeah. But how do you think you bring him in?
Go ahead, Mass.
If you can bring Darth Maul back from the dead, if you can, which still pisses me off, even though I enjoyed it, it still pisses me off. But they will do this right. I would bet.
Well, I think Mass has brought it up a number of times that Hayden was given a job, and the job was to do the things that George wanted him to do and to be the certain character that George wanted him to be. And also a young person, all that green screen. He was an experienced actor, but was he an experienced green screen actor? And then to George to basically say, be a pouty, whiny teenager. I really thought he really improved on all that in Revenge of the Sith. I mean, I think he turned it around and made it, put some real meat on the bone in that movie. So I think if they keep expanding on that, and let's face it, George is great at almost everything he does, but uh, what am I looking at? Dialogue was never his forte, right? I mean, so if you have Favreau, Filoni, Chow, these kind of people, they're going to set Hayden Christensen up the right way on this. Adam, go ahead. I'm sorry I cut you off.
No, that's all right. Well, and it goes back to that quote again, when Obi-Wan and Vader are on the Death Star in A New Hope, where last we met, I was but a learner, now I am the master. Well, that implies that the last time they encountered each other, Vader was insufficient. He fell short. So that means that Obi-Wan is going to kick his ass. So I think we're going to see one of those comic book duels where, you get Vader just hacked to bits, kind of like we saw on Rebels, where him up against Ahsoka, where his mask gets cracked off and we hear Matt Lanter's face. I think we're going to have that, but it's going to be Hayden underneath this time. We're going to see, his suit's going to get torn away. We're going to see more of Hayden underneath. And that may give an opportunity to do like a redo on that scene we had in Rogue One with him in the bacta tank. But this time, it really is Hayden. So I think we're going to see, I think they're going to make use of the fact that it is this actor, which is good. It was unlike, there have been some that complained, but I loved every Vader scene in Rogue One. I thought they were wonderful. But it was kind of a tragedy that we have, him in a bacta tank and it's not actually Hayden Christensen. That was a waste. I don't know why that was Disney, whatever it was, that was Disney's call, because Disney could have made it. Disney would have made it happen if they wanted it to happen.
Yeah.
So they were foolish not to do it. I think they're correcting that mistake now.
And Brent, before I hand it over to you, I think they'll also not only possibly use them in that duel, like everybody's talking about, but I think they're also going to do flashbacks. I think they're going to, whether they're de-aging or making them look more like their Revenge of the Sith looking characters, Ewan and Hayden, to where they're thinking back or he's communicating with him in his mind, and things like that. And I think they're going to do it that way, from at least in my opinion, because from what I've seen, the rumor is Hayden's in every episode of the series. So I think it's going to be like some communication things going on.
Well, now that we've got the precedent of flashbacks from The Mandalorian, that was not part of Star Wars language before, storytelling language. They didn't do. I don't know if they ever did.
The only one that did it was JJ. JJ did it. And that was it.
Right. So now we've got the precedent, they can do that. And what a wonderful thing to be able to go and add more material to that era with those actors.
Go ahead, Brent.
If they do that fight that you're talking about, that would be badass. Like that, like I never thought of it being that way, but that just sounds, that gets me kind of pumped and gives me some chills thinking about incorporating Hayden in that way, because I never really would have put that in there. And you say he's going to be in every episode, but as far as I understand, it's like 4 episodes, right? Maybe 6,
4 to 6, somewhere in there. Yeah, I haven't seen. Yeah,
or
something that
or 8 max, right? Because I mean, The Mandalorian is 8, so it's like a mini series, 1 season run at this point.
Yep, correct.
That's at least that's the news that I know of. Okay.
Yep. So I know, Adam, you had mentioned you're a big fan of The Mandalorian. Mandalorian is something that brought you back to Star Wars. 2 different things related to Mandalorian. One, do any of us play Fortnite? Because there's now a Mandalorian setup you can do in Fortnite. And I never played it before in my life. I would be a fool to try it, but I thought somebody here definitely, with it being Mandalorian, might try it. Mass, have you ever played Fortnite?
Elliot let me do it a couple of times, and then he told me I was ruining his rep, and he took the controller back. But he did tell me about it. He showed it to me, but I haven't. I don't play no.
Okay. Me either. Okay. The other thing is obviously we ended season 2 of The Mandalorian learning about the book of Boba Fett. And recently they came out and said that other bounty hunters that we all know and love are going to be a part of this series of Book of Boba Fett. Around the room here, if you asked for what bounty hunter you would want to see in there, who would you want to see in that series? And just raise your hand, whatever, tell me when you want to go, and we can go around and talk about who you want to see in this series with Boba Fett.
I want to see everybody that was on the Death Star that went to look for Han Solo.
Oh, they were on Vader's ship, not the Death Star, but yes.
Oh,
you want to see Bosk, IG-88, 4LOM, and Zuckuss?
Yeah.
Oh, and Dingar. Okay.
Dingar was on there too. I was going to say, who are all of them? Because I thought.
Yes.
Okay.
You want to see them all? That sounds good to me. All right, Brent or Adam, either one of you guys have.
I want Embo and Cad Bane.
Cad Bane would be awesome.
How old would Cad Bane be, though?
Old, but he's an alien. He can last as long as they want.
Right.
Like I get the different species age differently, and I'm not trying to get into the timeline. I'm just trying to get into the timeline. If he was in Clone Wars, and now we're gonna go past the original trilogy into 5 years into the 5 years in between.
30 years later. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's gonna be like 60 in a cane walking around.
They're like Wookiees.
I think I got to write his approximate human age in one of the books, maybe the Absolutely Everything You Know book. And if I remember correctly, I think he was about aged 55 in human years in the Clone Wars as we know him. But that doesn't give any sense of how he ages as time goes on. So, but he older than that. But since then, Lucasfilm has kind of shied away from ages and dates, so they'll just do whatever they want. It's like Katie Sackhoff, and
yes,
I think she should actually be a 10 or 15 years older than what she is in the show. But who cares? It's Katie Sackhoff. We just want her back.
That's right. Go ahead, Brent.
And I would love Cad Bane would be cool to throw Cad Bane into that mix. Do him in live action. That would be fantastic. Now Imbo, you got to help me with Imbo. Forgive me. I'm like one of the. I am the Padawan to some of these guys. I'm a visual guy, but I'm new to the clone. Well, Rebels I've really just dove into during quarantine. So Rebels is new to me, but I really love it. Clone Wars. All the jumping around. So who is Imbo, and help me out with that one?
He's the guy with the green guy with a trash can on his head and has a dog.
He flings it around like the James Bond bad guy, right? Doesn't he whip that thing around like the Captain America's shield?
Is he in Clone Wars or?
Yeah, Clone Wars.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That
really,
could be why.
Really awesome action figure. One of my favorite action figures. I think I have 2 of them. Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah, well, Adam, we'll talk after the show how much you want to part with one of those, because I don't have Imbo. Anyway,
he's one of the best made ones.
My patented answer is I want to be introduced to somebody new.
So Imbo would be new to you then, right?
What, at this point, yes, 100%. But I just want to be introduced to like give me the old, but then I'd like to see who can you introduce into a new way and a new so yeah.
Okay.
I know what we will probably see that will be new. I think there's been concept art for him for that canceled video game 1313, and there was concept art for Clone Wars. I think he even made it into the animatics, but I don't know if we ever saw the finished version. It's a droid bounty hunter that is based on one of the Ralph McQuarrie concepts for I think for IG-88. It's not the concept that made it into Rebels, those that green, I forget his name, the Deveronian guy with the horns. He had the thug droids.
Vizago.
It's not, Vizago. It's not those droids. That was kind of a different variation on what IG-88 was supposed to be. There's another variation of a really tall droid that they were going to do in Clone Wars, but I don't think he ever made it. And I'll bet, because it's still Boba Fett, it was supposed to be in Boba Fett's gang. I'm pretty sure we'll see him in the show since he's not been used before.
Well, we've talked about on this show a lot that not only do Filoni and Favreau really relish in the idea of taking the B, C, D characters and making them important or making them have value, but Disney's got to be smart to just say, we have this great artwork by someone like Ralph McQuarrie. Why throw something away, right? I mean, if it's going to be new to so many people, you might as well take the art from one of the masters of all this. So I can see that, and that's what I hope we get. Is I've really liked the things that they've thrown in, that both in Rebels and Clone Wars that were McQuarrie related, that we were like, whoa, we didn't even know. And then we see these, Paul Bateman talks about all the drawings and everything that they had that never got used for anything.
Yeah.
And so I would hope that would be great. I could handle a new droid. Everybody fell in love with IG-11, right? In
Right, yeah.
Mandalorian.
Well, and I've talked with Killian Plunkett, the head art guy for Clone Wars, and I think he was for Rebels too at Lucasfilm. And I asked him about how much concept art is left. It seems like over the years, surely we've seen everything there is that McQuarrie and those guys, Joe Johnston and all those guys did for the original trilogy and even for the prequels. But he told me the things that have been made public only just scratches the surface. So there's still a lot of stuff that's never seen the light of day. Mm-hmm. So there's still a lot of original things to draw from.
Well, I go ahead, Mass. Were you going to say something?
No, okay, that's great. I'd love to see some of that.
So, Adam, having you on the show is a real honor for us at Rule the Galaxy, to have someone who really has got into the nuts and bolts of Star Wars. It means a lot to us. And I spoke with Mark Newbold, who you know Mark from StarWars.com and Fantha Tracks. That was just awesome to do. It really, I think it's awesome that people who get this knee deep into it are willing to take their time and talk to us. So if you don't mind, before we get into your crazy stuff here, you've lost 185 pounds.
Yeah. I started at around 385, and I may have been heavier. I just didn't weigh myself until I started trying to lose weight. And my lowest weight, I've gotten as low as 196. But normally what's happened since last spring is I get down to about 200, and I'd like to get down to 175, but I just can't do it. Every time I get to 200, it's like I hit a rubber wall, and I bounce back, and I go up to about 210, 212, 215, and then I work my way back down, and I just between 200 and 212 or so, I just keep bouncing.
So Brent, one of our great hosts here, Brent, you've lost in over the past so many years.
I've put a little bit back on, but so when I got married to my wife, I wore a size 60 jacket. And so I was probably in the 420s. I didn't weigh myself because no commercial scale would weigh me.
Yeah, I had the same problem.
Right. So I figured you probably would. So there was one time that I was randomly, I don't know, when my daughter was born in 2012, I stepped on a scale and I was like, I can weigh on a scale. And so that was it was at the max of that scale, but I was like, right. I actually recorded on a scale. And then so I'm down to, I was down into the 295s, and then the stress and the holidays hit. And so I'm probably in the 3s. Like I
Mhm.
kind of do the same thing you do, but mine isn't 200, it's 300.
Mhm.
Like, so I can get to 300, I can get a little bit below, but then either something happens or I like my sweets a little too much for a long
Sure.
period of time. But yeah, so I probably from about 420, I was probably up to 450 to be honest when I got married.
Mhm.
So about 120 pounds or so.
Well,
Mhm.
you guys have, I mean, that's a testament to both of you to work that hard and to get to that. I mean, there's people all over the world that are facing that kind of issue. I mean, for each one of you, what did you see as being the most success? What did you see where you were like, this really helps me lose weight? Was it exercise? Was it diet? Was it just walking? Was it just a change in mentality?
For
Either one.
me,
Yeah.
for me, from 385 down to 135, I think it was only a change in diet. Then at 135, I started adding exercise in almost daily, minimum 5 days a week. I do an hour or more along with the diet. Then down maybe 125 or 120. Then I had to start counting calories for the first time. Before that, I just ate as much as I want, but only certain foods. I know really no fat, no oil, no salt, no sugar. Mostly fruits and vegetables, a little bit of meat and eggs and things. But once I got down to 125 or 120, I started counting calories, and I can lose weight as long as I don't eat carb heavy things, as long as there's no no potatoes and no bread, and I can have a little noodles, but not a lot. Then I can lose weight as long as I'm somewhere between 1,500 calories or maybe 2,300 calories max per day. I can still lose like a pound a day. But once I get down to 200 and about 203 pounds, it just suddenly my ability to lose weight it immediately drops off, and it's just creepy crawly to 200, and then I just can't do it anymore. I got frustrated and I tried something different. I tried the carnivore diet this week, where you're supposed to only eat meat, and that just completely fell apart. That didn't work. So after 3 days, I gave up. I had a cheat day today, but I'll go back to regular diet tomorrow.
Brent, similar to you? Was it?
Yeah, I can tell you how to lose weight. That doesn't mean that I always stick to it. I mean, the basic premise is you burn more than you eat, right? So if you start looking at calories, what really helped me the most was holding myself accountable. And the second thing that helped was I seriously swore off like refined sugar is what I called it. So if I knew that it was processed refined sugar, like I'd give myself bread, but I wouldn't go crazy on it. But if I knew that there was like sugar added into something, I would stay away from it. And I distinctly remember, I think it was like a bride, like it was a baby shower for my daughter or something or for my son. It was the first time that I had a piece of cake, and I want to say about a year. Like I had sworn it off. So I had a piece of like buttercream, and as soon as I ate it, I'm getting chills telling the story because it was freaky. As soon as I ate it, about 15, maybe 10 minutes after I ate it, I started to feel a rush of just a rush. Like it's like the internal rush of like my blood flow. It felt like I could feel, it was like I felt like I could feel the blood go from like my heart to my fingertips and back into my heart. Like it was like I was high. I'm not kidding. Yeah. Like if you've ever had the feeling of like I had because I hadn't had sugar in my body for so long, my body reacted to the sugar and kind of gave me that weird sensation of like, ooh. And I just told people, I was like, they're like, you feel okay? I was like, oh, I feel okay. Like I'm good. It's just like, this is weird. And like, that's what sugar can do to you.
Yeah.
and that you don't realize that it can do to you. It is a drug,
Right.
and it surely is a drug for me, because as soon as I start eating sweets, I eat more sweets. So one other thing too that I've heard from somebody that's so true: if you start your morning off eating a good breakfast, you're more likely to eat a good lunch and good dinner. But if you start off your morning eating a donut, you're gonna go to lunch and you're like, I'm just gonna have Taco Bell, and then you go to
Yeah.
dinner and you're just like, and you don't care. It's like
Yeah.
you don't care.
Yeah.
So if you put in the effort in the morning, it carries through the rest of the day. So there's little nuggets that, like, I can tell you I can do it, but like I said, like, I don't always hit and do what I should do.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
that's funny what you said about you know, once you start eating, it's going to change how you eat the rest of the day, because I never really thought of it quite like that, but it's so true, because with very few exceptions, since I started 2 years ago, I never have unexpected cheats. All my cheat days are planned. But I found, if I want to limit how much I cheat on, you know, you can do a whole cheat the whole day, have an extravaganza, and make yourself sick, which is usually what I do when I cheat. Or you can decide, okay, I'm going to be good up until a certain time or a certain meal. I found the latter works great if I'm not going to cheat until dinner time, you know, and I'm going to be good the rest of the time. But if I decide I'm going to have a great, exciting breakfast, you know, with lots of cheat foods, I'm screwed for the rest of the day. My willpower for the rest of the day is gone. I have never been able to just do a morning cheat and then go back to diet eating the rest of the day. It doesn't work. But there's something about going to sleep and having that sleep cycle and starting a new day that I can start from scratch in the morning. And I think that that's really important to recognize that and to use that as a tool of, okay, I screwed up today, but I can start tomorrow again.
Well, thank you guys for talking about that, because like I said, there's a lot of people out there facing these challenges. But for you Star Wars fans who I've neglected now, that was our rule, the weight loss galaxy right there. We're good with that. And these guys are, hey, I give them 2 thumbs up for the work they're doing. But having somebody on like Adam, I'm just going to take a minute to look at kind of the bibliography of the, or you know, whatever the lineup of Star Wars things that I found just before we got on here that you've been involved with. And if I'm wrong, you can correct me at the end, but Star Wars, What Makes a Monster, Star Wars Rebels Visual Guide, Star Wars Absolutely Everything You Need to Know, and the first and the updated edition, I think, of that. The Ultimate Star Wars book, the Star Wars Visual Encyclopedia, Star Wars Stormtroopers Beyond the Armor. What else in the Star Wars world have you been involved with? And I guess with all that, how did you get into that?
There was also a Star Wars Starships, I guess, with a punch out. I think it had a TIE fighter and maybe an X-Wing that I did. And there was another version of Ultimate Star Wars. There was Lego Chronicles of the Force and Lego Star Wars Into Battle, and seems like there might have been another one, but I can't remember. And that's not counting the Marvel stuff.
Well, that's, you know, not to hop off, but how many Marvel books have you been involved with or written?
That started to grow too. I've done all of DK's Marvel Studios books. So there's Marvel Studios 101, the Visual Dictionary, and the Character Encyclopedia. Then for the comics, I've done Absolutely Everything You Need to Know and Ultimate Marvel, and the update to the new Marvel Encyclopedia. That's kind of their foundation flagship book for the comics. I think that's everything.
So, Brent, I know we've just roped you into reading Star Wars books. This is your new dark side. Brent was he was a visual Star Wars fan, not a book one. Mass and I have been readers since the old EU and consumed all those things. But what you're doing is totally different. I mean, I have some of those books, but I mean, we're used to reading the fiction side of things, everything else. You're bringing in kind of the nonfiction, in air quotes, the nonfiction version of the Star Wars universe. And I mean, I think I've heard you on other shows talk about some of the stuff you were given, some of the stuff you had to guess on, some of the stuff you just had to make up, right?
Right. Yeah. There's a little bit of everything. My job with these, they call them reference books, is primarily to document what's already there. But when you've got a book that's a consistent format throughout, there will be holes in the information that are readily apparent. So those have to be filled in to keep the book format consistent. So if it's encyclopedia, entries, every planet has to have a sector and a quadrant, and it's got to have its indigenous species and stuff like that. So if that hasn't been determined, I'll have to create something to spell it out.
And they have to sign off on that, right? I mean, when you go, hey, I'm going to make up this city name or whatever, they just sign off. Go ahead, Brent.
So what is one major thing that has been an Adam Bray addition to the Star Wars galaxy?
Mostly it's a lot of little things. For instance,
weren't there like some name flipping around of letters and like birthdays and things like that mixed in?
Yeah, there's a lot of that. When I first started, the Rebels guides were the first books where I did significant inventions. And for that, I would try to draw on a lot of EU stuff. For Kanan's motorbike, I would name the parts on his speeder bike after the characters from the old Droids cartoon series. There were three friends that at the very end of their run on the show, they went to work for a motorbike, a speeder bike manufacturer, Zebulon Dak or something. So they were speeder bike engineers. So I thought, okay, well, I've got to name the parts on Kanan's speeder, so I'll just name the different parts after those characters as though they had engineered whatever these parts are. And I had Zebulon Dak as the manufacturer of the bike, I think. So, and then in Ultimate Star Wars, when I had to name different ships from the Resistance show that's in the First Order era of the. I had to come up with a manufacturer for one of the ships, so I just named it after one of those same characters from Droids. I think his name was Thal Jobin. I called it the manufacturer was Jobin and Sons. So it was just showing this continuity over time. So it's fun to make those kinds of connections. And I'd grab some things from the Dark Horse comics, make references to different ones. But then in the last book or two, that's fun, but it can get old after a while doing those kinds of ties exclusively. So I thought, well, why don't I start naming things after some of the fans and podcasters and people that I felt have, contributed on the fan side and have been supported. So I started naming a few things here and there after people where I could, and I can't plan it out, which is the downside, because they'll hand me these spreads to work on, these two facing pages. They might send them to me, in the morning, and I've got to, write them all up and send them to them at the end of the day. Sometimes I might only have one day to work on these 2 pages. So I only know what I've got when I get it. So I've just got to kind of take those opportunities on the fly. So I got to think quick. So I for example, one of them, what was it? It was Crownist, the planet home world for Sabine Wren, the Wren clan. I had to come up with a sector. So I thought, oh well, I'll name it after Kyle Newman, the director of Fanboys, who's a friend. And so I just switched the names around. It was the New Kleiman sector for Kyle Newman. So I do fun things like that. I've named things after co-authors and names. I name stuff after my nieces sometimes in Marvel too. So that's kind of fun. I've done some crossovers too, just really tiny things, like in the Marvel character encyclopedia. I think who's the blue guy? Yandu.
Oh yeah, from
Yeah,
Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah.
His boots are oiled with hujib oil. Hujibs are those fuzzy bunnies from the Marvel comics. And I have one of the Doctor Strange sorcerers. He's wearing something from the home planet of the Gamorrean Guards. Nobody's caught that because it's so obscure. I did refer to the Ravagers in Ultimate Star Wars.
Really?
Yeah, the Ravagers from Guardians of the Galaxy. I'd love to squeeze more of those in if I can get an opportunity, but they're hard to do.
So
I'm gonna drop a suggestion in. Evacuation tubes need to be made by the Molinaro and Sons.
Oh gosh, evacuation. That's exactly. Yeah. Thank you.
I'll keep that in mind.
Mass, I know I've been just monopolizing things. Anything that's popped in your mind? I mean, listening to Adam and all those things that he's written and everything like that. Anything popping out that you want to ask before I jump into anything into more crazy stuff here?
Well, Adam, you look great, but I am really curious. Is that a character on the counter behind you? Is that an action figure?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, in the back there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see.
Good call, Mass. I didn't see that. Wow. Eagle eye. And during this brief pause, Adam is getting here. Yes.
I mean, I do have one question for him with all of his encyclopedias. It's the standard question we have to ask all guests.
Okay.
So we get back.
Yeah.
I think you know where I'm going with it, Joe. So
I'm looking forward to it.
These are got the
TIE
fighter pilot and the Amazon Mandalorian guy there.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, that's the one before the Beskar. And does that have the Beskar whatever? I'm blanking it there over the top of him. Is that the one?
Oh yeah, the credit.
There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, they're from the credit collection. Yeah, these were extras. I got this one planning to open him, but I got this little office set up because I got two of them. So I was going to open this one, but then when I got him in the office on display, it's like, well, he looks really good in the car. Maybe I'll just keep him like this. But this one, my Walmart had them. The TIE pilot had a few of them on clearance for like $8. So
oh my gosh!
Well, I had a couple already, but how can you pass them up for $8? I mean, it's a classic character. So
yeah, no, I mean, it amazes me. I walk into Walmart and Target around Indianapolis, and it's very rare that I can find anything there. I mean, we've come to a point where we buy everything online. And I do want to talk to you about Hasbro characters, but I thought the guys would get a kick out of this. Reading your bio, and you said you lived in tropical areas before. You had lived in New Zealand. You lived in the Far East, and did you live in a chimpanzee colony?
I did, kind of. I worked in one.
Okay, you worked in one.
I worked in two different places with chimps. One was out in Arizona. The place doesn't exist anymore. It was a chimpanzee colony of about 80 chimps. It was a breeding colony for, it was funded by the National Institute of Health. It was a crazy story. This husband and wife, they were former circus workers. When the circus disbanded, they took in all the chimps and kept them at their trailer out in the desert and took care of them. And people started hearing about it. So they these crazy people, like that Tiger King guy, would have chimps. And I can attest, that Tiger King thing is, I haven't seen it, but I've heard enough about it that it's totally real. I mean, the country is full of nuts like that keep exotic animals, and they are just as freaky as that show has been described to me. But these were nice people, but they got a reputation for having chimps. So anyone with pets that, baby chimps, they start out as tiny and then they get, stronger than a person and can kill you. So people would want to unload their pets. So they ended up more and more and more chimps. And they needed a way to fund them. So they got in touch with the National Institute of Health. It's kind of like a secret and M sort of thing, but this was early 80s when AIDS came on big, and they were desperate. Government was desperate to, find a way to study AIDS. So they funded these colonies. There were like 5 or 6 of them around the country, and wanted to use the chimps as a model for AIDS research. And so they funded them to breed the chimps. So it, went from a dozen chimps to 80 something chimps. But then they realized, after they'd already done this, that chimps don't make good models for AIDS research, because they can get they can carry HIV, but they can't. They don't get sick. They don't develop AIDS. So they weren't a useful model.
Huh.
So fortunately, my chimps had never been infected. They were all AIDS free. But they did use them for other things, like to test the hepatitis B vaccines. People don't realize your vaccines have to be tested on animals before they're tested on humans. If you don't test them on something, you're not going to get vaccines. I'm sure COVID is no different. So some of them had the hepatitis B vaccine, which I've got the vaccine too, so I'm thankful for the chimps. But otherwise they weren't used. They just, they had to be taken care of. So I did that. Since then, they've all been, in the last 5 years or so, they've all been retired in Florida, I think. And then I spent some time out in Atlanta. There was with bonobo chimpanzees, they're pygmy chimpanzees. If you've ever seen a National Geographic special, they're famous for just, for lack of a better word, just having sex with each other all day long, with no care of male, female, or anything else.
Okay.
Sorry if this is a family show.
No,
it's
we
nature.
have mass. We have mass on our show.
Biology.
Wow.
But they were really famous for that. But also they're used in a language study, these bonobos, where they would point. They had like 100 or 200, I think maybe even 300 different symbols that they could point to on a keyboard, and they could talk to you using English. Basically it ends up being English words, and it was studying their language abilities. So I worked with them and a couple of orangutans there.
Okay. Hey.
Ended up going to Rwanda to see the mountain gorillas too, but I wasn't paid for that. It was just part of my travel writing stuff. So I'm
you
exposed.
You definitely have a diverse background. Brent, I think you were going to ask a question.
Yes. So we have a running Star Wars question that we've asked anybody or if we've got another show. It started off as somebody of our group hating on my boy Count Dooku and saying that no one likes Count Dooku's lightsaber. And I am here to say that I actually enjoy, and I think that that is actually a very good design of a lightsaber. So you do all the visual dictionaries, you've written all of these things. Are you partial to a specific lightsaber?
He said, doesn't sound like he's leaning towards Dooku, Brent.
It does not.
Yeah, to think this long, I set it up with Dooku. He could have gone right away. Dooku's not on the top.
Kick to the curb again.
However, I will also say on our Rebels show, I really, really, really like season 1 Ezra's lightsaber. I like that because it was new. It was new and different. The one with like the shotgun, stun gun feature to it.
Yeah, kind of like a staple gun with a lightsaber.
There you go.
100%. But I loved because it was new, it was different, and I felt like it fit him, the Aladdin of space, as Alfie calls it. So to give you a little bit more time to think.
I kind of like, actually, I do kind of like Ventress's lightsabers, and those aren't they just, they're bent like Dooku's, but they can clip together like Maul's does. So hers are actually pretty cool.
Yeah. I saw they were on sale recently and I should have grabbed them when they were, but yeah, I'm a big Ventress fan. I love me
She's
some Ventress.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
I hope she comes back. They need to resurrect her.
Nope.
She would be the bounty hunter that I would actually like to see them bring back. But I felt like, to be honest, that was one of the ones I was going to mention. But I also know that they killed her off in one of the books, so I don't know. But you know what? No one's ever gone in the Star Wars world, right? And we also have the running joke: if you fall in 1,000 feet, you're guaranteed to come back.
I think that was engineered with a loophole to bring her back if they want. I don't think, because Filoni supposedly kind of oversaw that book.
Dark Disciple.
Had a sit down with her, with the author, to make sure it was on track or whatever. But the way she was buried, I haven't read it. I'm told they took her body back to Dathomir and buried her under the waters.
Yes.
Well, we already saw in the show when she, went back to her sisterhood thingy. It was like a baptism kind of thing, and that, that's this that was used as a symbol of rebirth and starting over. So, and we've seen that the Night Sisters can come back as zombies, and in Rebels they had their spirits, and Mother Talzin, and so they've got some bendy of the rulies in with the Night Sisters. So I think that was set up so that they have the option. Filoni has the option to bring it back.
I like it. So I on Twitter, when I announced that you were going to be on the show, you and I both saw it on Twitter. Number one, is it Sharon fan?
Oh, Sharon, yeah.
Sharon fan. Sharon, the Gungan tour guide. What the heck is this person talking about?
Oh yeah, my good friend, the Sharon fan. I wrote a series for StarWars.com, and I love this series. I really put my heart in it. Several years back, it was Imagining a Day, and each post on the StarWars.com website, I would just imagine what it would be like to go visit a different planet, at a different season or for a different occasion, and just spend a day exploring and just talking about what you would encounter and experience. And I drew on my experience as a travel writer, in exotic locations, you know, what I would encounter and do as I was researching a travel book. So I talk about the foods and the smells and the clothing and the animals and architecture, and, you know, get into the nitty-gritty details that you probably don't get a lot in other Star Wars mediums. And I used it as a great way to just flesh out those places. And it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, and I was so distraught when they just, you know, told me they didn't want to do anymore.
So was Sharon the tour guide for all of them, or just on the Gungan part of things?
No, just on Naboo.
Okay.
I was feeling a little wacky, and you take a ride on a barge like up the river, and so it was like Sharon out of what is it, Greek mythology, the one that takes you down the river Styx or something.
No.
That's the name of the barge master to hell or something like that in the Greek mythology, I think. So I just named the Gungan after that character. It's just like a Gungan boatman, but this particular fan really latched onto that character and really liked him. So he's always asking me questions about Sharon. And
when that popped up on Twitter, I'm sitting there racking my brain going, what is this person talking about? And why are they going to Adam about it?
Right.
You know, but there you go. More of it for them.
But they're a great supporter. They recently ordered some books for me and requested because every time when people order a book for me, and I mail it off, I'll do a doodle of some kind in the book as well. And so I gave them quite a nice time-consuming picture that I did of Sharon in the book. So
gotcha. So I was reading, and I'll ask each one of you guys, Brent, Mass, Adam, leading to you in the stuff that I had read said Return of the Jedi was your favorite at the time when I saw it. Mass, what's your favorite Star Wars movie?
The Empire Strikes Back.
Brent, how about you?
I'm an Empire guy.
Okay. So Adam, are you still on the Return of the Jedi bandwagon? And was it just a certain age that you were, or just something you saw for the first time?
I think it was because of the age I was at when it came out. I was about maybe 8 or 9, and totally into forests and creatures and aliens and the droids. That was what Star Wars was about to me. Those three the three white characters they were just filler between the scenes with the aliens and the droids. I didn't care about Luke and Han and Leia. All this storytelling it was about the droids and the aliens, and the spaceships too, I guess.
Well, I'm looking to go along with that. You listed your favorite characters. Now, is that probably at some time? R2, Jabba, Cad Bane, Imbo, Chopper, and the Ewoks. Is it still in that kind of a realm?
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, it's Ewoks and the Jabba's palace characters. That's my jam.
That is a money shot right there, man. I mean, let's face it. I can get on with Jawas. I love Jawas and Ewoks to death. The Porgs, I'm still having a problem with, but
they're overrated. They taste better than they look on screen.
Go ahead, Brent.
So being a Jabba fan, were you a fan of the re-release? I can't think of the extended cut scene.
Special edition.
There you go. The special edition Jabba scene with him and Han in A New Hope. What did you think of that?
I was a fan of the scene, but not the way they executed Jabba. The first couple of iterations were pretty terrible. I think they finally fixed it up for the Blu-ray, maybe.
Yeah, they've tightened it up.
Yeah, they've redone him a couple of times now. I think they might have finally gotten him right. It's passable. But the scene itself, though, is pretty cool to see, everybody in the hangar and, another scene with Han Solo and stuff. So that's cool.
I just thought he was too small. I'm so like from Return, he's this giant blob that can't move,
Right.
And then he feels like he's the same size as Han, and I never got the impression that he was just that. I thought he was always 2-3 times the size of Han. That was my big.
That's a lot of weight to put on really fast.
Yes, yes. So I like to ask, look, you've got your hands into a little bit of everything. And if you look at Star Wars, what is the coolest thing you have done related to Star Wars, or maybe the coolest person related to Star Wars that you've met while you've been involved with the Star Wars universe?
Coolest person. Well, I met a lot of cool people.
It could be multiple.
Yeah. As far as celebrities, I've done the autograph thing. Most of that, though, I wouldn't brag about, because anyone who's got the money, who's going to pay, willing to pay for it, they can also do that too. So I've done the autograph with most of the legacy characters. I was fortunate, to get like Carrie Fisher before she passed. So that kind of thing is, that's fortunate.
Have some of the Clone Wars or Rebels people been, have you, I mean, obviously you've written some things about maybe some of the voice characters. Have you met some of them to go along with some of the actors or anything like that?
Right. Yeah. I was going to say, of the autographs, probably the meeting Hayden Christensen was actually the coolest, just because it's been so rare to be able to meet him. So that was actually one of the most exciting, which is, reflecting on me being an original trilogy kid. It was actually more exciting than meeting some of the others. I've interacted with Sam Witwer a bit. He's a really cool guy, and really generous with his time too. He's made quite the rounds on podcasts and stuff. I don't know if he's done as much of that lately, but for like a year or 2 or 3, he was like on all the fan podcasts and stuff. So meeting him was cool. Vanessa Marshall is awesome. She's very generous and totally genuine too. I mean, all of those actors on Clone Wars, all the actors on Clone Wars are incredibly
Yeah,
genuine, generous, nice people.
Yeah,
James Arnold Taylor, I've reached out to him, for personal stuff, for questions and things, help on some issues, and he's very giving of his time. Very wonderful man. Tom Kane, I think I've just had a quick exchange once, but strikes me as a really nice guy. All of them. Ashley Eckstein, she amazes me, because it's like the first time I ever met her, she knew who I was. She knew my name and, everything. And I was just mind boggled that she would even, because I'd only done like 1 or 2 books by then, and they were just minor books, but she knew who I was just by
awesome.
meeting me, and remembered my name every single time. And she does that with everybody. It's incredible. I've not met Matt Lanter, but he strikes me as, just as wonderful as all the others. So I find all the Clone Wars actors really impressive, and the ones from Rebels that I've met too. The coolest, funniest thing was doing the Rebels books. It was so sweet. Taylor, what's his name? Taylor that does
Ezra's voice. Gosh, what is Taylor's last name? I'm blanking it.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's the Ezra's voice. Yeah.
Taylor. Yeah. His family. I remember his mom more than all of them, but his whole family came down to my booth to look at my Rebels book, and his mom was so proud of him and just bragging on him and just just beaming, and it was just really sweet to see that. Unfortunately, he'd already left, so I didn't get to meet him, but I remember meeting his parents, and I think he's
Taylor
Korean.
Gray. Sorry, Taylor Gray.
Taylor Gray. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. The Korean actor that did like the Republic. I forget the character's name. The Republic leader of the fleet in Rebels.
Oh yeah. He did well. That was a great character.
Right. Yeah. He and his family came down to my booth at San Diego Comic-Con, one time, and introduced himself. So that was really neat. And, I got to, the funny thing was for the Rebels book, I got to interview Dave Filoni and Joel Aaron and Simon Kinberg for that book. It's a shame that they only let me use a couple of quotes in the back of the book, just a few sentences. But altogether, I talked to them for like a couple of hours, and fortunately I've got these things recorded, but I've never been allowed to use them. Maybe sometime I should just post them online or something. I don't know.
Right? What are they going to do, right? It's Disney. What are they going to do?
Well, it's Disney. Who knows? It's been long enough though. But it's funny. Simon Kinberg, I didn't know who he was at the time because this was early on, and so they told me, well, you can interview Simon Kinberg. We've got him available for you. And so I looked him up on IMDb, and I'm like, oh wow, he's the producer on all the X-Men films and on Deadpool and all this he's done a couple of Hayden Christensen movies too, and like all these like big things, and you're gonna have me talk to him.
Yeah.
And I was scared, nervous, because even being a journalist, I didn't specialize in interviews. I specialized, and I'd go off on my own little adventure and then write about it. So I was scared, and I said, no, I don't need to talk to Simon Kinberg. I don't want to, waste his time. And they were like, oh, no, you should really do it because he's available and he's hard to get. I think you'll like it. So fortunately I did. He was very nice to talk to, and he actually came to see me at San Diego Comic-Con. So, that was cool. Some of those kinds of things that I got exposed to, but
that's awesome.
It's not just the famous people. I really enjoy meeting the fans too. Fans have done a lot of special things for me, on my book tours or at conventions. There will be people that I will have been chatting with online that'll come and say hi, and so I'll know them from online. And some of them will bring me badges and pins and little gifts and stuff. So that's really special. And I've had some Star Wars fans done some pretty amazing things for me too. This last year was really hard for me because my dad had lung cancer, and I was the only one, really taking care of him from the family. And, so I had to do all the hospital stuff and hospice and, everything right up until he died. But I had some, Star Wars fans that had become friends from just interaction online or at conventions, and send me care packages. One friend, I had a dental problem at the time, and helped me with the dental stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and just praying for me and just doing really kind things when I needed it, when I couldn't do it for myself. So I really appreciate all that kind of things. And some people will send me Christmas cards and stuff, so that means a lot.
Yeah.
That's
For all the divisiveness in the
right.
Star Wars universe,
Yeah.
it's still a great community. It's still
Right, yeah.
a great thing. Mass, I think
Yeah.
you had a question a moment ago.
What's next for you, Adam? Is there any more books in the making, or?
I wish I knew.
Disney doesn't listen. Well, we found out that maybe a certain Kevin does listen to the show, so maybe we shouldn't say.
Yeah. Yeah. I did you know that before I pointed it out?
No,
that's
did not.
funny. Yeah, because sometimes I find by almost mistake that people are following me on Twitter, and I never noticed it. It's crazy when you're on Twitter and you have a platform. Some of the people that'll end up following you. But yeah, when you first reached out to me and I was checking you out, because when I get invitations, I like to just. Sure. I don't want to put in the time to do an exhaustive background check, but I like to have a listen and make sure, people are up and up, because, not everybody is up and up.
Agreed.
So, yeah. So when I checked out your Twitter handle and I saw that Kevin Feige was following you, I was like, wow, you guys must be really special. Because he doesn't lucky. Follow a lot of people.
We're just lucky.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but like Matt said, I mean, you kind of have to play the wait and see game, right? With Lucasfilm and Marvel and Disney, as to, hey, when they throw it on your lap, like you said, just go.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, being in licensing, and really all the books that I've done are like that. Even when I was a travel writer, they're not the kind of books where I own them. The publishers or the licensor owns them. So I can pitch ideas, but for anybody pitching book ideas with a licensed book, your chances of getting accepted are very, very slim. The chances are almost none. Because the truth of the matter is, whether it's Star Wars or Marvel or, any other big franchise, there are a couple others that are almost, big, but not as big. The book ideas are normally thought of by the publishers, or the licensor. And once they have the idea, then they go look for an author. It's actually very rare that an author proposes an idea and then the publisher goes with it, just because the publisher meets with the Disney people, and they do their own pitching of their own ideas, right. And they get that all sorted out long before they're talking to the other people working on it. So you're very much at their mercy, and this is a weird time because Star Wars, it's starting to open up and the train's finally starting to roll, but we had just finished a trilogy, so that was the end of the era, and now we're moving into a new Disney Plus era. Yep. And it was the same with Marvel. We were at the end of more than just a phase, the end of the entire, right. 10-year saga. And now they're moving to the Disney Plus era. And I think my guess is most or all the movies are going to end up on Disney Plus. Best, just my guess, at best, I think they're going to probably do a DC model where it's in the theater and on Disney Plus at the same time. I don't see us ever going back to movies just being in the theater. I think those days are dead.
It's a crazy world we live in now, right?
Yeah.
So, well, hey, Adam, I've I usually don't like to keep people this long. You have been.
Oh, I'm fine.
So you've been hugely helpful. I got these guys and myself where we're all checking to see what kids are needing, what dogs are needing out, and everything like that. Look, for anybody who hasn't checked out anything by Adam Bray related to Star Wars or to Marvel, I highly suggest it. You need to go check it out because the gentleman knows what he's doing and he does a great job at it. And the product that they put out is fantastic. So Adam, like Ryan said, what's next? But also, you know, where can people, like you said, it's a good thing for people to reach out to you and maybe buy things directly from you and get things signed and things like that. Where can people track you down? Where could people help, you know, with buying things directly through you and maybe, you know, putting some more cash in your pocket instead of, you know, an Amazon or whoever that gets, you know, some of the money. So what are some of those ways they can reach out to you and do that?
Sure, yeah. Best place to find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. My handle is @author Adam Bray, all one word. Currently, I'm on Twitter more than anything else. On Facebook, the least. Instagram, kind of in the middle. Though I'm both addicted to Twitter and I both dislike it very much. So it's very much a love-hate relationship, and I think a lot of people find it that way.
Yes.
It's like I'm obsessed with it and I hate it to its core at the same time. So yeah, that's at the moment it's the best place to find me until I find another outlet.
And like no website where people could go directly through you and buy anything or anything like that? Or
I do have a website. It's adambray.com.
Okay.
There's a list of books on there.
Okay.
If people do want to buy through Amazon, the only way I'm going to get any benefit from it is if they go to my website and click on the links there, or if they click on a link if I happen to post one in my social media. Otherwise, I'm not going to get any benefit from the orders, to be honest.
Okay.
But as you said, the best way actually is to order them directly from me, and then you can get a signed copy. And if I have some posters or bookmarks or stickers or whatever, I can include that as well.
Or extra imbos for me. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, I don't know about that. Yeah,
you took a shot.
People can. But people can reach out to me on social media, or I've got an email address listed on my website. It's Adam Bray at worldsbydesign.com. Worlds is plural with an S. But double check that on my website to make sure you got the spelling. But yeah, that's the best way, is to order directly from me. And if you want to see sequels to my books, you know, if you'd like a new edition or have an idea, please do, you know, whether it's Twitter or some other platform, tweet to the publisher, to DK and myself. And if you know, any one of the editors at Lucasfilm or, you know, whatever, say, you know, hey, I want Adam to do a new Marvel Studios visual dictionary or whatever. The more the publisher and, you know, Lucasfilm and Marvel hear that, the more I'm going to get to do more books. You got it.
You got it. Well, here's what I will promise you, because you've been such a great guest, and really it's been our pleasure to have you. If my son Joey gets connected to where we get Gina on the show, you're my first call. I'm having you. I'm going to have you and Gina on the Zoom going back and forth. I want to hear all the good stuff back and forth, because we're all big Cara Dune fans. And
I am such a big Cara Dune fan and such a big supporter. And not to get all negative, but I will say I've lost a lot of followers from because I don't hesitate to support her
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
any of my, I'm that way. I with all my friends, you know, I was a journalist. I know the value of free speech. I as a journalist, I saw people who were being oppressed and, you know, houses burned and livestock killed and people sent to prison and tortured, and the government targeted me as a journalist, you know, and I lost my home and lost my work and lost, you know, my home of 7 years I lost, got, you know, had to leave because of that. So I believe in, you know, I believe in free speech. I believe in forgiveness and redemption and standing by people. And that's one of the things that I value with Gina and other people like her.
Sure.
So I'm not going to shy away from when, you know, when there's, you know, stuff going on. And I'm gonna be consistent. So,
and I'm sure
yeah.
if somebody listens to this show, we'll probably get some people telling us how much they hate us. And you know what? We're just talking Star Wars here. We love everybody.
That's the way it is. We gotta love each other.
That's right. That's right. Well, hey, everybody, thank you for being part of it. Mass, Brent, thank you for being a part of it. Alfie, we lost him part of the way through, and he sent me a message and craziness at his household. So Alfie, sorry you missed out on this, but at least you made that great Facebook Marketplace buy earlier today. Adam, again, thank you so much for being here, and I'm going to keep bugging you. We'll keep in touch, and if there's anything I can do for you, let me know, and we look forward to keeping, you know, this Star Wars Brotherhood going together. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And
yeah, I'm happy to come on anytime.
You got it. And guys, until next week, hey, it's been a fun ride on Rule of the Galaxy this week, but until next week, may the Force be with you.